Okay, let's talk about how to turn pipeline chaos into clarity with the deal flow audit. And side note, this class, and I knew this going into it, is really for the people who want to learn a ton about managing pipeline, and because it's such a specific topic. So not a lot of people sign up for this. Probably one of our lowest signups in a while, but I love doing these kind of topics for those of you that are trying to get a little more nerdy. Quick promise here is by the end of this, you're going to have a clear data-driven approach to managing your sales pipeline. Seems like most of you are repeats, but there were some new people here. So let me give you a quick run through of my background. I've worked with over 80 software and service companies, helping them build a repeatable sales process. I've written 3 Amazon best-selling books. You can look up Kyle Van Voris. You'll see all of them. Cold to Committed is the first one. That's about doing cold outreach. The Sales Development Playbook is about how to build and scale sales development teams. And then the third one is the most recent, which is called 16 Steps to Repeatable Sales. It's a step-by-step guide on how to build a repeatable sales process. And then I've helped our clients sell over 100 million in software and services, over 280 million in money raised, and I've trained over 1,000 people, salespeople. You could probably put an S on the end of 1,000. I've worked with a lot of sales reps, both SDRs and AEs, and I've been in positions where I'm leading sales organizations and have to report to a board, and things have gone well. And I've also been in the position where we're not doing also well. So I've seen sales from a bunch of different lenses, and it's my favorite department of an organization. So here I am. Before I talk about the problem that the Deal Flow Audit is going to address, I want to just set a little ground rule here. Everything is nuanced when it comes to building sales organizations, or at least for the most part. It's very nuanced. I think I've worked with 5 different cybersecurity companies. 2 of them were services. The rest were softwares. They all sold into similar markets. None of them had the same sales process. Not even the software companies that sold similar products into the same market had a similar sales process. There's a lot of nuance here. So as you have questions, please type them in as you get them. I'm going to answer every question, but I like to have the questions submitted beforehand so I can just scroll to the top of the chat and scroll down and answer all the questions. Okay, problem here. Type yes or no in the chat if you've ever had like a little pit in your stomach when you just realize, I'm not quite sure if my pipeline is healthy. Have you ever experienced that where it's like, oh no, I don't really know if we have enough pipeline to hit our number? Type in yes if you've experienced that before. Help me understand if you're in the right place. Okay, Colleen, yes. Ryan, yes. Perfect. Yeah, you're in the right place. This is super common because what happens is you don't know really what's going on. The sales reps are saying like, oh, I have so-and-so going to close, whatever. And then you're looking at the pipeline. You're like, I just don't know if this is actually all going to work out. And it makes it very, very difficult for you to stay calm. And that's what we need to do. What I have found is that most founders and sales leaders look at the pipeline when something is wrong or to see what's going to close. That's it. Something wrong? We didn't hit our number last month. Let's look at the pipeline and figure out why. To see when something's going to close, we're getting near the end of the quarter or the month, and we're like, are we going to hit this number? And you're looking, trying to figure out what's going to close. You might be pulling in all the sales reps and being like, hey, explain to me your deals. Are they really commit? And getting all mad, right? All of these things are possible. So I call this the visibility void, okay? This is simply, you don't have great visibility into your pipeline month over month, so it's hard to spot patterns. So when you actually do look at it, you're like, is this good? Is this bad? I'm not quite sure. You're talking to all the sales rep and panic ensues. So here's what I'll say. If you want to truly feel confident about your pipeline, you need to be able to see those flow patterns month over month. Your pipeline has a flow. It's like a river, right? And you need to understand that flow, have your finger on the pulse of that flow. So in that way you can feel confident on what's going on in the moment today. And as you do this, and I'm going to walk you through it, you're going to see like these patterns repeat over and over and over again. So you have a lot more clarity on what the pipeline's looking like. So you need visibility into a couple of things here. One is deals created, of course, deals pulled in from future months, won deals, lost deals, stalled deals, big deals, tall deals, small deals, Dr. Seuss, the pipeline, in other words. I want you to have full visibility into everything because that's how you start noticing these patterns. But you're probably tracking some of these things already. You might even be thinking, yeah, I've seen these things before. Maybe some of them you aren't tracking as well as others, but I don't necessarily feel like I can see the patterns. That's where the deal flow audit comes in. Ultimately, you need to know what this flow of deals actually looks like. When you do, you'll know exactly where to focus to fix the team's performance. You'll be able to help your team intelligently because you'll have the information in front of you and you'll know how the flow typically goes month over month, and you'll have all the data you need to back it up. Real quick, before I dive into the deal flow audit and explain to you how to use it, there's two things that you really should know about it. The first is that we create a deal flow audit every single month at the end of the month or at the beginning of the next month. And it should be created with all deals that had a close date in the period that we are looking at. So when I go through this example, I'm just going to pretend we're going through January, a January deal flow audit, because January just happened. You might do it for a quarter. You might do it for a month. That's generally the normal time frame that you would do it for. So you'll do it for that month. And I'll just give you an example of this, but everything we're looking at is the stuff that was within that period. And then the next thing here is all numbers should be the dollar value of the deals. Sometimes I will also do how many deals there were, but for the most part, we use dollar value because it's much more helpful to see that. You'll see what I mean in a minute when I walk through it, but I just want you to have this in your mind before I walk through it. All right, deal flow audit. I'm going to break down. Here's where we start. Total pipeline starting value. This is the total value of all of the deals that had a close date of January at the beginning of the month. So in the beginning of January, how many deals were in our pipeline with a close date of January? Very, very simple. This is our total pipeline starting value. Next, we have deals pulled in. This represents the value of deals that had a close date later than January, but got pulled into January. Okay, so over the course of January, there might have been a couple of deals that had a close date of February, and the sales rep was like, oh, I'm able to get this month, and they pulled it in. Okay, you want to see how many deals got pulled in. Then we have new deals, which are deals that were created in January with a close date of January. That's critical. So I'm not just saying all new deals that were created in January. You're tracking that already. That's good. I'm saying ones where they were created and then closed in January. So if you sell a mid-market, sell to the mid-market or the enterprise, this is probably going to be zero, right? If you sell a very transactional product, this is not going to be zero. I'll talk about kind of some of the consequences that pop up. Like if you sell in the enterprise and this isn't zero, what does that mean? That might not be a good thing, right? So I'll explain some of that in a minute, but I want you to understand like new deals created within the month and then closed that month. This is a within month look. Then there's the deals won that month, and then the deals that were marked closed lost in that month. And then finally, we have deals pushed out, which are deals that had a close date of January, but pushed out to a later date. This is what the deal flow audit looks like. It also kind of looks like a sword, I just realized looking at this. And maybe I should turn it and make it a sword. I like that. I did not consider that before. This might be the deal sword audit or something. I need to think about my sword idea here. So this is the deal flow audit for now. You got your total pipeline starting value, deals that got pulled in, new deals that were created and then closed in that month, or lost in that month, by the way, both those. They were within period activity, right? Deals won, deals lost, deals pushed out. Cool. The next thing here that I want to do is I want to go through an example and then share with you some of the consequences here that we often see or run into. Okay, so for this example, let's say we are starting off the month in January with $1 million in pipeline. So at the beginning of January, January 1st, all deals with a close date of January added up to $1 million in pipeline. The sales reps pulled in from future months $130,000 in pipeline. Okay, those might have been close lost or close won, by the way, but they got pulled in to that month, and the close date changed from future date to this month. Okay, the close date changed. These are pulled in deals. Then, how many deals got created that month? In this case, let's say it's 50K. Just created that month, closed that month. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. How many deals did we win? We won 540,000. How many lost? 320,000. And then how many got pushed out to a future month? It's 327,000. If you add and subtract and you kind of do the math here, this will zero out. This is the flow of everything that took place over the course of the month. Couple of things that I want to, a couple of things that I want to discuss with you. Starting, I think that makes sense to everybody. Pulled in, I want to talk a bit about this. Your reps will be pulling in deals sometimes. In some cases, it's an active thing you want them doing. Hey, look at February and see, are there any deals we can pull in and try to get in January because you're behind on your quota? All right, you might have that. Other times, they're just going to be pulling them in because they didn't do a good job with the close date. Like maybe they had a close date of February and they ended up closing in January. Like the person was ready to move forward and the rep just didn't put the right close date in. If this is zero, if pulled in is zero, that actually could be a good thing. It could mean that your reps are really good at marking close dates. So that could be totally fine. In other cases, that being zero might be a problem. Or if this number is super large because you get a big push to pull in deals from future months, you can ask yourself, is that sustainable? Do we do that every month? Is that going to work every month? Another thing is, if that number is high, and it usually isn't, did we have one really large deal that we pulled in? So you start seeing the pattern because you do this every month and you go, whoa, we had a lot pulled in last month. Can I rely on that next month? You start asking these kind of questions, right? You can be very, very specific with what you're talking about. And then next is created. So like, let's say you do more of an enterprise sale and you have a deal created and then close won or lost within the same month. That might be weird for you. Now, if it's a qualification thing, maybe it's totally normal, but usually there won't be a deal value until you've qualified the opportunity. So that shouldn't show up here. But if you do it that way, then maybe. It could mean if you have a lot, like let's say you have an enterprise sale or a mid-market sale, it's like let's say even in mid-market, like 3-month sales cycle and deals are created and closed in that month. It could be reps are having conversation, they're working deals outside of the CRM and they're just updating the CRM really late. So then you don't have like real visibility into the pipeline because they're not really logging things in the pipeline right. So it could be a pipeline hygiene issue. This will help you call it out. If you're more transactional, this being high might be totally normal for you. The idea is of all the deals that were created this month with the close date of January, in this example, is it normal? Is it not? What's the rhythm look like, right? What's the flow look like? Keep your finger on the pulse of that. So just real quick, because sometimes people get confused about this one. I'm not saying the deal was created this month and then just closed or lost this month. That's part of it. But specifically, they had a close date of this month as well. Because if you have a deal that was created in January and then the close date was in February, it's not going to show up here. It's just like, I want to make sure that this is super clear. If you have questions around this, ask me. If the deal was created in January with a close date of February, and then the close date moved to January, that's now a pulled in deal. Make sense? It's now pulled in. Now, that is like a very random example that shouldn't really be happening because why would a rep put a close date for February and then pull it forward? So that might be more of a transactional thing. But if that happens, it would be a pulled in deal. Cool. The created is the key here. What close date was it created with? And if your close dates are automatically popular, you might need to adjust that, by the way. Okay. Then there's won deals and lost deals. Everyone understands those. And then pushed out. This is super common at the end of the month. Everything gets pushed out. A couple of notes that I'm going to make on this here is your pushed out deals. Like, of course, you want those as low as possible because the lower it is means the better the sales reps are about marking close date. So you want that as low as possible. And yeah, I'd review this with your sales reps in case somebody's asking that. And the reason why is you want the sales reps to see like you using this kind of information, because as you approach them with problems, they'll go, oh, that's actually not as big of a problem because I'm just not using close dates properly. So let me just start using close dates properly, and then that problem goes away. So that's how like you have this conversation. You're enforcing data hygiene. I get sales reps don't want to fill out the CRM, but it needs to be a non-negotiable for you, because you having this kind of information allows you to actually sleep easy. Because and actually, let me explain that, because I think I'll show you the trends, right? As you start noticing trends, you can feel good about where you're currently at in month if you know on average our starting pipeline value is $1 million. And hey, guess what? We're starting this month with $1 million. This is pretty average for us. We know how things go. Maybe our average is $1 million, and then this month you're starting with 1.5. It's like, hey, we're probably on track to have a good month this month. You wouldn't be able to say that if you didn't know that that was the average, and generally these months turn into whatever, right? You would just kind of be hoping that the thing works out. So here's a couple of things I'll bring up. Let's say the starting pipeline average is $1 million, and then this month is 200K. That could be totally normal. It could freak you out, or it could be normal. Maybe you do a big closeout at the end of the quarter. And when you do that closeout, you have very little pipeline for the next start of the quarter. So then boom, totally normal. You get it. Hey, this is generally what happens. You understand the flow, right? Very, very helpful. The next thing here is, are we pulling in less deals? I mentioned this one a little bit earlier. That could be good as well. It means the sales reps understand their close dates. So really, really helpful. I mean, ultimately the goal here is, by knowing your deal flow gives you confidence in your pipeline and the behaviors of your team. I can tell you, once you have your foundational sales process that's operational, it's working, you can hire the average sales rep, they can follow your process and they can hit their number, they can get close to their number, and then you just try not to hire average salespeople. Once you're confident on that, like 70% of having an effective sales organization is pipeline management. For the selling portion is pipeline management, making sure that we have a clear understanding of the pipeline. What multiple of pipeline do we need, consistently to be able to hit the targets that we need to hit, et cetera. So just a quick recap here before we go into Q&A. Over the last 30 minutes, we covered how the visibility void creates uncertainty around pipeline health, why you need to understand deal flow patterns, and the power of regular deal flow audits to give you the data-driven insights needed to run your team effectively. Cool. Let's go into Q&A here. Live classes. Those of you repeat, you come to these a lot, so you already know, but I'll throw this in the chat just for those of you who don't know. If you go to vorus.com/events, you will find our events that we do. And actually, I have one more thing before anybody needs to jump, before you jump here. Please do this survey. I use this survey to see like how people like the classes that we do, the live classes. I do this every single Thursday for those of you who are new. And I use this survey to determine like what topics to do. And that's why this is a new topic. I've never done this one before. And I created this one because I started seeing in the survey responses, people had questions around sales pipeline and pipeline management. That's why I did this. So your feedback here is super helpful, because then I can come up with new topics that I keep doing. I do it every single week. Sometimes I recycle topics that are really popular, and then other times, like today, I do a brand new topic. And I have a couple brand new topics, just going back to the vorus.com/events. I'll tell you real quickly. And if you have a question, please type it in, because if there's no questions, I'm going to just leave, which will break your heart. So let me go to our events page. I'll tell you a couple of classes coming up. The next one here is how to get consistent sales by connecting effort to outcome. That's next week. Very, very important. It's about what is the relationship between the activities that we do and the outcomes that we generate, how to figure out that relationship, model out that relationship, and give individual reps as well as a team idea of what has to get done in order to hit a number, especially for more like top of the funnel, cold calls, emails, that kind of thing. And also reaching out to inbound leads. And then the week after that, I'm doing how to read your sales pipeline so you can spot problems early. It's not the same class as this one. I'm doing a different way for you to be able to look at your pipeline at a glance and just get quick, like, hey, what is this pipeline telling me? How to read them like tea leaves. Okay, so that's what we got coming up on the docket. That was me killing time, so you guys can ask questions if you have them. And again, if you could fill out the survey, that'd be super helpful. A question from LinkedIn here is, oh man, joined late. Where can I catch up these events? Very sad you joined late. If you're on LinkedIn, I think you can rewind it, by the way, but assuming you can't, if you guys want to see, maybe I should just share my screen and show you guys this whole thing. I built this for you. I didn't want to do this, just to be clear. I got some feedback, both you guys talking to me in the chat, but then also I got feedback from the survey that I just posted again. Please do the survey. It really means a lot to me. Oh, look, I'm advertising our next class to you. Let me show you where you can see past events. If you go to the events tab, look at all these positive words. See, your name could be on there next. And look, I'll even anonymize your last name. Okay, so upcoming events, these are events upcoming. Past events, these are events of the past. All you do is you go to past events, and then we update this like it's the next day, I think. Maybe it's a couple days later. I don't know. My EA does it. But you click watch now, you opt in once, and then you have all of them. It like cookies you, so we can track you. No, it doesn't track you. All it does is it makes it to where you don't have to keep opting in for every single one that you want to watch. So you opt in once and you have access to all of them. And you can go through and just pick, hey, what class do I want to watch? You can go and look at all of our previous classes. So that's how you do this. Again, if you want, register for them here. Also, if you're on the email list, you'll see the ones coming up. All right, I've killed enough time. I do not see any questions. So I'm going to give you 30 more seconds here before I jump and warm up. It's freezing in my office today. The heater doesn't work in this building. You turn on the heater, it blows cold air on me. My poor little fingers, they're icicles. All right, cool, I got a question. Question, I see the audit metrics to collect, but what is the main use case for it? So the main use case for doing the deal flow audit is to understand the flow of deals in any given month. There's two nice things about this. One is you can, like, let's say you don't hit your number, you can look at the deal flow audit and you can see all the movement within that period, in the month in this case, and figure out, why did we not hit our number? Did a bunch of deals get pushed out? Did we not pull any deals in when we normally do? So it's helpful for seeing a snapshot of the month and like how deals flowed through the pipeline that month. Additionally, as you do it month over month over month, you start noticing trends. This is the key thing. It gets better the more often you do it. You start noticing trends, and then you can enter a month and know, oh shoot, our starting month pipeline value is really low. And this is just not stuff that people look at often enough. They will look at like their total pipeline value, and they're like, oh, we have a high total pipeline value. But the majority of that pipeline could be 3 months out. So it's a way to get a granular look without that much effort of like clicking around a bunch of different reports, and just to see in one view exactly what took place over the course of the previous month. So then that way, you know, how did that align with our averages? And then moving into this month, how are we feeling for the metrics that we do have? Okay, no questions. Are there, let's see, this looks like a question. Is there any strategy to spot the changes of territories, realignments, maybe impacting the deal flow somehow? Let me reread this 1 second. Is there any? Okay, so I'm just kind of reading into this question, Ryan. Are you saying that normally I would do this on the total pipeline? If there are territory-specific pipelines, then yeah, of course that'll impact it. But so is that what you're saying? Like you'll look at these pipelines based on the individual territory, or is it something else? Oh, not of, but if. But if the changes of territories. Okay, yeah. So I'll kind of go back to what I was saying, Ryan. If you are doing this in a territory basis, you would do it for just that territory, and then as you know, I mean, then it wouldn't really impact it because it doesn't matter the reps. Usually when you do a territory shift, you're shifting it between reps. But if you're like consolidating territories, then you would consolidate your report too. Hopefully that was helpful. I didn't fully understand the question. So if that didn't help, just let me know. But that's what I think you're asking here. Or you might be saying, like if there's something wrong in a specific territory, like like for example, when the big hurricanes were hitting Florida, it's like really you're not going to get a deal closed, or if your territory right now is LA, it's going to be tough, right? Thing was on fire, so that you would see represented as pushed out deals or close loss, I guess. So like you'd see spikes in those. So you see a big spike in pushed out deals. The question for the team is why, right? And that can help you understand what took place last month that caused a bunch of deals to push out. And there's going to be situational issues that pop up that cause deals to get pushed out. And then there's going to be more systemic issues. The systemic ones you're building process around to try to prevent. The situational ones, like your hands are kind of tied, right? If there's a hurricane in Florida, there's a hurricane in Florida. Cool. All righty. Well, that was a simple one. I'm glad it was clear. Don't see any other questions, so I'll let y'all go. Please do the survey. It's a minute long, goes really quick, gives me a lot of insight into the topics you want to hear more of. I appreciate y'all's time. We'll talk soon. Bye.